Dice Company contains fantasy violence, mature themes, and unapologetic bickering. No feelings were hurt in the making of it, but listener discretion is advised. Dice Company will always be free, but it's not free to make. Please consider supporting us on Patreon or Apple Podcasts and get access to our weekly roundtable show Extra Roll. Just follow any of the links in the show notes for this chapter.
The winds across the wastelands of Roanoke bite as you make your way through the clearing mist. Before you is a large ramshackle building, constructed from the old ruins of another building. Hanging outside is a roughly drawn sign which reads, "The Tavern at the End of the World." You push on the plain metal door and are met with a cacophony of sound, music and light. Archivists, explorers, treasure hunters and clerics fill the large interior, packed around circular tables. Some are chatting, others are tuning instruments, but all are drinking. Behind the bar, as much as there is a bar, is a tall and imposing orange minotaur who is cleaning glasses and watching the patrons keenly. Most other eyes are fixed on a small stage area in the far corner. On it, keeping the attention of most, is a kobold. Lauren, welcome to the table. Please tell them what they see.
It's hard to ignore what you see because she's got the stage presence of almost an otherworldly performer. She's very small when you actually kind of take her in against the rest of the stage, only about 3 feet tall, but the purple scales shimmer in a variety of colors that go from lavender all the way to almost black. She's wearing what we would consider a tuxedo. She's got a very finely crisp white shirt with a buttoned up vest and black pants. And over it, over her tail coming out the back, is a coat that might have maybe been something like a tuxedo coat with tails. No hat, but it definitely looks like she wouldn't look that weird in a top hat. And she is currently holding in one hand, just floating right over her hand, a couple of lights that are dancing over her hand in a couple of different colors that almost take on a few different shapes. One of them seems to look like a building, maybe a building on fire, and two small figures. A little hard to tell, a slender figure, maybe an elf of some sort. Another, some sort of winged creature with a tail, maybe a tiefling, a dragonborn, something like that. And they're almost like the opposite of shadow puppets, as they're made out of light. And as she's holding up her hand and her other hand is kind of down at her side, the claws moving slightly, as you can see she's doing the subtle somatic components for all of these spells. She's finishing up a story that seems to have a good number of the patrons enraptured over the music and the laughter and everything going on. And she says, "Building was lost. But that's okay. Buildings can be rebuilt. Stuff can be rebought. But the tailors they saved, their lives. That was the important part. Never forget, the lives are the thing you can't rebuild." And she snatches up her hand and then looks expectantly for applause and gets some of it.
And with the smattering of applause, you hear a voice coming from a rotund goblin.
"Come on, little dragon. Make me laugh."
And he screws up a piece of parchment and throws it at the kobold.
She lets it fall and land on the stage, kind of looks at it, ignores it for a second and looks back at the goblin and says, You came to the wrong bar at the end of the universe. I'm not that kind of bard, but you're certainly making the rest of the patrons laugh quite a bit."
"If you're not that kind of bard, what can you do? Why aren't you singing?"
"Why aren't I singing? Did you not just hear my song?"
"Song? What song?"
And he looks around half frustrated and half confused.
"I don't understand what's happening, and I don't like it."
and he gets up and marches towards the stage. You notice his belt has a number of small daggers attached to it.
She looks completely unperturbed, very much like this is a regular occurrence, and it's very obvious she takes note of the daggers, and you can see a little glint in her eye. She definitely doesn't back down. She reaches into one of the pockets of her long coat and says, "You know what's for very special patrons like you? Do a few card tricks." She pulls out of her pocket a box that's obviously a box for a deck of cards, but it's very nice. It's in blues and purples with little tiny stars on it. She flicks open the top, and because it's a goblin that has approached the stage, she actually kneels down to be at eye height and holds out the box and says, "Would you like to take a card?"
The goblin is completely stopped in his tracks. Behind him, the crowd are paying attention now to the altercation, and they've started to cheer for him to draw a card. He looks even more confused, but finally says,
All right. I'll take a card.
and his long-nailed fingers reach out and pluck a card from the deck.
All right, well, I've got the deck of cards here.
It's actually happening.
DM, if you would like to tell me when to stop ruffling.
There.
All right, would you like to cut or take the card on the top?
Take the card on the top, please.
You want this one right here?
Yes, please.
All right, you have the crossroads.
Ooh.
I need you to roll a d20.
I love that the DM's been forced.
The tables are turned.
Hey, listen, someone's got to start the fun.
That's a natural 20.
Oh, very interesting. More importantly, it's even. Okay, I need you to roll a d10. Lots of rolling in this one.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind. I've become the DM for a moment. I know I've only been here for like a few minutes, but it's my game now.
I get to play. That would be a 10.
Excellent. How old is this goblin?
For a goblin, he's fairly old. He's quite grizzled. He's kind of a... Wait a minute. Why?
As this old goblin kind of takes the card and looks at it, he glances at the grim-looking artwork on it of this signpost weathered by age on a tree that has flies circling it. His countenance gets saggier and filled with wrinkles. His posture stoops a little bit more as he ages 10 years in front of everybody. The card disintegrates in his hand, and Figlarny pulls back the deck and very quickly puts it in her pocket and says, "Now that's more of a prank than a joke, but I'm sure you like it."
And with one final breath, the now ancient goblin with his greying hair collapses to the floor, dead.
You hear a single clap of hands towards the back of the bar as Vander shuffles in.
Figlarny poses like this was part of the show, bows in elegance. As she bows, she reaches down and ruffles for the goblin's coin purse. And you can just kind of see she gently takes it and puts it in her other pocket. She stands and goes, "I'll be here all week, whatever a week is. Thank you very much." And trots off stage.
Welcome one and all to Dice Company Small Embers Chapter 50. We're a big old group of friends weave tales of triumph, heroism and despair under the guise of playing Dungeons & Dragons. My name is Tom, and I'll be your DM through the continuing adventures of this crack commando unit who escaped from a maximum security prison to the Roanoke wastelands. Today, still wanted by the Empire, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the Order of the Heron. Order of the Heron, please introduce yourselves and tell us one fun fact about your characters.
Hi, I'm Alex and I'm playing Augustus. And my fact this week is about Augustus's great-great-great-great-grandfather, Roderick de Nothlian, He's famous for his heroic actions at the Battle of the Bonelands. Roderick was a genuine madman of the sort that can only be produced by a hereditary monarchy, and he led his army from the front, proudly playing the bagpipes. During the battle, Roderick took an arrow in the chest which punctured his lung. He didn't miss a note, playing proudly until the enemy army broke and fled. Roderick's glorious reign lasted another 6 years, ending tragically when he blew too hard on the bagpipes and simply ran out of oxygen.
Well, that is lore heavy.
For some reason, I tried to do that in one breath, like I was doing the bagpipes. I like to stop. Why aren't you breathing, man? Stop!
Just like your forebears.
Yeah, I nearly just keeled off the chair.
An inherited problem, yeah. That's how you all go.
I don't know what I was doing. Like, I had weird bagpipe vibes and just thought I couldn't breathe for some reason.
You were that into the role playing. It was amazing.
Exactly. I'm a character actor.
Have any of you,
So
have any of you
method
played
out.
bagpipes before?
No. I mean, I've tried. I
What
can't play the
instrument, mate?
bagpipes. I have tried once, I think.
Yeah.
I have actually played the bagpipes because they're
Oh, wow.
related enough to my. So I'm by trade a professional oboist, classical musician, and so I have played a little bit of the bagpipes. I'm not that good at them though.
That's awesome.
That is
Very
absolutely
cool.
amazing.
I'm imagining it's like wrestling a musical octopus.
Do they, with the oboe, do you do like the circular breathing, to keep the note going? Is that kind of part of that?
I can. Most oboists don't need to, because the interesting thing about there's like lore and fun facts. The interesting thing about the oboe is it's a lot of air pressure, but very little actual air. So most of the time, it's not that we run out of air; it's that we run out of oxygen and have to breathe out to breathe back in. So circular breathing is not. It's a thing that some people do. But yeah, the weird thing about the bagpipes is that whole idea of you can keep playing because you're pushing on the bladder. While you're not actually blowing into it. And as someone who's a wind instrument, that's a weird feeling.
I feel sorry for the oboist who's going to get the musical piece written by Augustus and his forebears. That's clearly going to be it's clearly in danger of running out of oxygen.
The family had to switch instrument to the oboe after the unfortunate bagpipe death.
Oh, so Bach. You're talking about Bach, the one that just doesn't write any rests for oboists anyway. Okay.
Hi, I'm Harry, and I play Tock, an imposing 6'8" automaton. Tock's rather glad to be reunited with Tick, and in long tradition, Tick is remembering Tick's favourite sentient but non-sapient animals, which will be the kakapo, jaboa, direwolf, Dracula bird, Parasaurolophus, a red squirrel, the satanic leaf-tailed gecko, lesser arboreal octopus, leaf-cutter ants, the three-horned ground lion, moss piglets, the red mason bee, and the go-away bird. We've got to get the go-away bird in there.
I think my daughter's a go-away bird. That's what she says to me constantly.
Rolling all the hits for the 50th episode here.
Oh, yeah.
I picked up on, was it moss pigs?
Moss piglets.
Moss piglets. Are they pigs?
Tardigrades.
Brilliant.
Colloquial name for them.
Okay. Baffling and fantastic as always.
I was going to say another planet just got glass with a lore drop from orbit from House back then.
Hello, I'm Beth. I'm playing Bella. And Bella's fun fact is that she has been in love once, she thinks. The reason she's unsure is that she wonders if you would need to have felt love multiple times in order to recognize it. And love is not something that she has felt throughout her upbringing, for obvious reasons. But from what she's read, she can assume that love is what this feeling was. However, the love did not last long, for after months of secret meetings, Drusilla learned of Bella's distraction, and the suitor was quickly disposed of. Bella has never forgotten that feeling and wonders if she will ever feel it again.
Oh my God.
Harsh.
Tragic as always.
Yeah.
Just relentless tragedy.
I know.
I hate Drusilla even more, and I play Drusilla. It's really confusing for me.
Hashtag DM self-hate.
Yeah, the feeling's mutual, and I thought of her, so.
Hello, I'm Dave, and I play Bennie. Now, a character as unobservant as Augustus will not have failed to notice that Bennie has been in a very poor mood with him for the last few weeks. This is ostensibly because Bennie's upset about what happened to Kaelin and holds Augustus responsible. But also, probably more than Bennie is willing to admit, it's because Augustus gave away Bennie's cabin on the Sterling.
I will respond in writing within 14 days.
Bit awkward.
You will hear from my lawyers.
One day we're going to have to meet your bloody lawyers.
There are so many of them, and they're all extremely well dressed.
How long did it take you, Alex, to give away Bennie's quarters?
Seconds. I was roaming the decks looking for someone to take his room. I was sad he wasn't there, but also we all needed to move on 5 minutes after we thought he was dead.
It was about 5 minutes, yeah. Literally.
You're going to have to prepare yourself to be on the wrong side of history as well, because if you try and take your cabin back, Bella's life has been so tragic to this point. You're so really going to...
Can you? Can't say anything.
You're out. You have to find a new home.
You can't evict her. Someone murdered her first love, you monster.
Exactly, it's Bella's cabin now. Sorry.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Charlie, and I play Vander Finnick. Vander's detective work may have seemed mixed to some, but not to Vander. In his mind, that night proved that by reading detective novels, you truly can become a world-class sleuth. This isn't the last mystery Vander intends to solve. From now on, everything, whether it deserves it or not, is getting looked into. Darkwing Duck. Think Darkwing Duck and you get an idea of the caliber of my detective skills. So, yeah.
I was about to rip into him for that, and then Darkwing Duck completely just bamboozled me.
It's the full stop no one expected.
Right up to date with the cultural references.
Al, it was a choice to stay locked in 80s cartoons, and I'm happy with it.
Stand by it. Fair play.
Hi, I'm Lauren Urban. I'm playing Figlarny, who you might have just met. There's so many things about her you haven't figured out yet, and it kind of hurts to give away some of her secrets so early, but I will say she's actually from the Feywild. She grew up there, maybe? Kind of hard to tell sometimes. It's the Feywild. But she lived there pretty much her whole life until she didn't. And if you get to know her well enough, or, buy her enough drinks, she'll tell you why she wants to go back.
Absolutely amazing.
Interesting.
That sounds like a mystery that needs to be solved.
Come at me, Darkwing Duck. Let's do this.
Oh, the game's so on. Really.
Hi, I'm Scott, and I play Bardol Schultz. Bardol's fun fact this week is that he's noticed lately that he's been taking some kind of negative press, shall we say, with regards to his attitude towards women. He has often been accused of forgetting women and them meaning nothing to him, etc., because of his philanderous ways. The truth is that Bardol respects women more than any other creatures in any of the realms. He loves them all, and the way he dislikes the way that women are kind of treated for being philandering like him. And so in order to take the flak, he often ends the relationship in the worst way possible, so that he is always considered the bastard, because he feels like it's the most honourable way to fall on his sword and protect the women that he loves from the terrible, terrible slandering that they're going to get. This has been brought to light, obviously, by Bennie's kind of reaction to him over the last couple of weeks. He's realised that Bennie's been cold regarding the Isabella incident, and he's going to try to do everything he can to kind of bring Bennie back on side.
I mean, that's got to be the most propaganda-filled fun fact we've ever had,
I was going to say that's tortured logic worthy of Vander, isn't it?
Yeah. If I'm angry, then it's your fault.
I was going to say, this is one mystery Vander's not trying to solve, just so you know. He's getting away from it. Though, to be fair, if the catalyst for that was you got scorned by Bennie and you felt like you needed to change, I mean, don't worry about it. I get scorned by Bennie all the time. It's fine.
Yeah. Is there anyone I'm not in a bad mood with?
Is that?
I think Tock's all right.
Tock's all
I
right.
would say Bella, but you're already in a sort of proxy war.
Haven't met. I don't know Bella well enough to know whether we're in a bad mood there yet.
Well, she's already nicked your room. So
Yeah,
kind
Bella
of
stole your room, so I feel like maybe you'll be in a bad mood.
No, that's Augustus'
There's
fault.
beef there.
Entirely hold Augustus responsible for that.
Don't forget, one and all, to check out our Discord and our Patreon for early release and ad-free listening. Check the show notes for links to them all, including links to our official website, dicecompanypodcast.com, where you can get your hands on merchandise.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, merchandise.
Merchandising.
including our popular Order of the Heron teas, both sweetheart and sociopath versions. A big thanks to Beth from Roll for Imagination podcast for continuing with us. Don't forget to check out the podcast and enjoy Myths of Favalonia. And welcome to Lauren, who joins us from a multitude of incredible projects, most notably the podcast Distinguished Adventurers. Lauren, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Distinguished Adventurers started about 7.5 years ago. A bunch of us, as is usual for a podcast that started that many years ago, that early in the age of actual plays, we were a bunch of friends who just thought it'd be fun to play D&D. And for a while, we were only doing it at a convention that happened every year as part of a charity fundraiser. And then a couple people came up to us and said, you should do this more often than once a year. And we foolishly did. And we've been doing that ever since. And so actually, we recently started campaign 2. We did multiple year campaign 1 that ran from level 1 to level 20 in the Forgotten Realms. And then we took a little bit of a break and did a whole bunch of other things. And now we're deep into campaign 2, where the group is currently on the Radiant Citadel, desperately trying to get all of the pieces they need to build a Spelljammer. And as of this recording, they've just got the first piece. So they're well on their way to getting all of the bits and bobs they need to build Spelljammer and go off into the multiverse.
Awesome. Absolutely amazing. So do listen, engage, love it. And please remember, life is like a game of poker. You have to play the hand you're dealt, and sometimes the cards aren't always good. So let's turn the page to the next chapter of Dice Company. Previously on Dice Company. In the aftermath of the Fingers prison break, things have not been rosy for the Order of the Heron. They've lost Kaelin, the Stormlord, and Seraphina, not to mention the Sterling is grounded. They find themselves stranded in the devastated ruins of Roanoke, close to the Citadel, exhausted, battered, and bruised. There are positives. They're together again, along with friends Bella and Bardol, and through the mist they spied the tavern at the end of the world. In desperate need of a rest and some downtime, they have ventured to the tavern, where among the treasure hunters and archivists, they found a magnificent kobold named Figlarny, who has just performed a quite spectacular card trick. What would you like to do?
Vander claps his hands again.
What a show! Tock!
And Vander grasps, looking even more pale than he does usually in your direction, Tock.
Forgive me, Tock, it has been quite some time since I was, well, truly sober, but did you see what I saw?
Indeed, Vander. There was a goblin. It appeared to die of old age.
Fascinating. Tock, be a good friend and guide me towards a creme de menthe. I fear I am close to collapse at this point.
Tock will reach into his bag of holding and remove one of the crystal decanters from the Sterling and we'll pass it to Vander and say, this is preparation 5.
We've been bringing our own booze into the bar already.
Tock doesn't understand your social conventions.
Vander looks shocked at Tock.
You mean to say you had this all along?
Negative, Vander. It took time to brew.
Vander looks about himself and then clearly decides that to have this conversation, he'll first need to take the drink. So he imbibes the bottle in a close to, one gulp and down, and then just sags into a chair, all tension in his now tense frame gone, and relaxes.
Well, I like the look of this place, everybody. Why don't we get a nice drink and kick back, eh? No one? Full of creme de menthe, eh, Mustang? Well, I need some mead or something.
Vander's still recovering from having had his first true taste of creme de menthe in some time, so you get a kind of vague gesture as Vander's brain begins to reboot.
Yeah, also, I'm not sure how close to creme de menthe that was. It may have been just, pure ethanol.
Just green windoline.
You give me a herbalist, and I'll take a constitution saving throw from Vander as well.
That's a 17.
21 for brewing.
Yeah. Absolutely fine. Now, this is good quality creme de menthe. And you have the constitution to handle it as well.
Oh, Vander smiles with all three of his teeth.
Bardol, alone you head to the bar.
Seems so.
There you meet the orange-skinned Minotaur. How can I help you?
Good evening. Barrel of beer, I think.
A barrel?
Well, yes, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 of us knocking around. We'll be here all night. Why not? Yes.
Excuse me while I calculate the cost of a barrel of beer. Because, most people just order pints.
Most people aren't Bardol Schultz.
Probably at best.
I like to think that the Minotaur actually said that in character. There's just like, hold on a second. Pulled out an abacus. It's just like...
That'll be 180 gold.
My goodness me. Prices are expensive at the end of the world, hey? Okay, let's just call it 8 beers.
Begins calculating again.
Back on the abacus.
I mean, beer would be expensive at the end of the world,
20 gold.
20 gold. Bardol slides over the 20 gold.
You are given 8 foaming pints of ale. It looks good quality from your pretty professional eye.
Wants to be. It's better be the greatest ale I've ever had in my life. Thank you, Orange Cow. Farewell. And I'll wander back over to everyone else and pass the beers around.
You hear the Minotaur snorting behind you as you walk away.
Bardol cares not. He knows that that cow is taking at least 20% off the top of that bill. For show, straight into its little hooves.
Bardol, query. Where would such beer be brewed? This is a wasteland. Where do the clientele for this establishment come from?
Well, considering the price of the beer, Tock, I imagine it was brewed in God's pocket. But let's just pretend they have some kind of magical way of creating it and drink it and ask no further questions.
I would find that to be acceptable.
Yeah, it's about this time Figlarny will have made her way through the crowd. She's done a little bit of crowd work, mostly just saying hi to people that she knows, introducing herself to people that she doesn't, and then climbs up and hops on top of one of the stools there and says, Oxnor, you got a red?
Yeah, I can do your red.
Do me a red. It's been a long day. Also, sorry about the body.
It's fine. I'll get the goblins on it.
Good to know. And then as they're getting me the wine, I'll pull out the bag of coins that I took off the body, and whatever's in there will pay for my wine.
And the red wine comes your way, and it's 2 silver for you for a red wine.
Excellent.
Oh, we get tourist prices.
Vander, your passive perception allows you to pick up on the fact that a small amount of money is just exchanged hands as opposed to the large amount the Bardol paid.
Vander gives no sign at all, still seemingly catatonic, though he is now at least sentient of what's around him. You see a gnarled hand reach across for the beer meant for Vander, and slightly revived, Vander begins to sip.
Bardol,
says Vander, again seeming to regain some more consciousness.
Yes, Mustang?
I wonder if you observed the different pricings in this establishment.
I'd have found them to be rather high. I can't say I've noticed anything else, no. My purse is considerably larger than when we walked in, and I'm having trouble with the arithmetic here, but I feel like I may have been scallywagged somewhere.
I believe that is entirely possible. It appears our magical friend at the bar pays a rather different price for her ale. Maybe a conversation to establish why the difference.
I take your meaning, Mustang. Do pardon me. And Bardol rises from his chair, downs his pint, and wanders to the bar, briskly. Upon arriving at the bar, he immediately grabs the nose ring of the Minotaur and slams his jaw down onto the bar. In a kind of polite-ish fashion.
Fig was not paying attention to this new person who walked up to the bar, but as soon as that happens, she is very keyed in on what just happened, although she's only just put her drink down and is now giving both of you a look. You get the sense she's waiting to see how the Minotaur reacts because he's a big Minotaur. Maybe he doesn't need any help.
Cow, it has come to my attention that you have overcharged me on the beer. I understand that I am a foreigner in this place, but I am no man's fool, nor farm animal's fool. And I would appreciate some kind of refund, or perhaps the keg that I asked for in the first place. I'm going to let go of your snout now. Please, hand me the beer or my money.
Fig leans over next to you. Oxnor.
God bless you.
No, that is his name. If you're going to be insistent with him, you might want to start by finding out his name.
Ah, right. Manners, is it? I see. Well, we'll try that.
Propriety is always beneficial, even at the end of the world.
Even when one has been scallywagged, eh? Okay, so be it. Oxnor, please refund the difference of the beer in which you have just done me out of, or I'll take that keg for my friends over in the corner.
The Minotaur snorts, and you can see he almost swells in size as his muscles begin to tense.
I haven't been treated like that in a long time.
Ooh, am I about to get a show? And I'll pick up my drink and just kind of give a good half a foot, like lean back.
Bardol's hand rests on the hilt of Daysong. Then I'm intrigued to see what happens. Hopefully I get some beer or money. Either way, I'm fine.
Give me an intimidation check, please.
A very intimidating 4.
Oxnor jumps over for the bar and then looks down at the hilt of Daysong.
Little human, where did you get that sword?
Wouldn't you like to know? A large cow. Stole it from a god.
Give me a persuasion check.
God, I'm rolling like an absolute hound today. A 1, so a persuasion of 3.
Vander is now shuffling in the direction of this.
Figlarny now leans back because she knows this Minotaur is just going to wipe the floor with him, and she's just going to enjoy the show.
Oxnor snorts with derision and then throws a haymaker your way. Please take 6 bludgeoning damage as the strike cracks you across the jaw, knocking you down. There's kind of a splatter of blood out of your mouth onto the floor, and you hear from the patrons nearby a kind of little cheer, as if this is a fairly common occurrence. Someone trying their hand against the Minotaur.
Tock and Tick are going to get up and follow Vander.
Figlarny is now going to jump on top of the stool so that she has a chance to maybe reach up and touch Oxnor on his shoulder, and is going to give it a nice, firm, friendly pat, because she's now been here for a couple of weeks, and she knows him relatively well, and says, your haymakers are still just as good as they were the last time I saw you punch someone who was so rude. Before things get too feisty, she's going to jump off of the stool and walk up to the human who just got whacked and offer a hand and say, now that you've paid for your rudeness, did you want to explain where you thought you got swindled?
Rob spits some blood onto the floor. Well, yes, charge 20 gold for 8 beers. And I hear you paid a few silver for the red wine, so I would say swindling has occurred, would you not?
I work here. Don't you think I get some sort of discount?
Exactly.
Also, I got wine.
Perhaps I'll sweep the floors and I'll get a 98% discount as well, eh?
Oh, Oxnor, do you need a new janitor? I think there's one right here.
The privies could do with cleaning.
Bardol spits more blood onto the floor, stands up, looks at the cow, and just turns and walks back to the group at the table, knowing when he's defeated. I chose to leave the money as a tip. The man has quite the fist on him. But he made a good point. We are guests here, after all.
At this point, Bardol discovers that Bennie drank all his beer while he was away.
Can I have a Constitution saving throw, please, Bennie?
Beer tax.
That is a 4.
The beer that you have drunk quickly has gone straight to your head and you're feeling quite tipsy.
Fig is going to watch as Oxnor kind of gets himself back together, and once he's back behind the bar and she's going to climb back up onto the stool and she's going to lean in close to him and say, interesting sword? What was it that you saw?
They're not from round here. Treasure hunters, maybe. It's tough to tell. One of them looks like he can barely walk. Do me a favor and scout them out for me.
Oh, I'm always happy to do you favors. And she reaches over and grabs the half-filled red wine and pushes it in front of her and say, a full drink would help, though.
Fig, you never change.
And he reaches under the bar and pulls out a full bottle and slides it across to you.
This will make finding out whatever you want much, much more fun. And she takes both, gives him a wink, turns and is going to walk toward this motley group of people. Is there any free spot anywhere, or are you all kind of taking up the entire space?
Well, Vander's so slow that what happened to him was he hobbled in the direction of the fight, and then Bardol then passed him in the other direction. So Vander's still doing a kind of 3-point turn on his way back to the table. So there is a spot where Vander was.
Free seat? And I'm going to jump on top, put down the bottle of wine, put down my glass, and go. So one of your friends has introduced themselves to the barkeep, and I thought, before things get a little more rough, I'd come by and introduce myself and maybe smooth things over a little bit. Figlarny at your service. My friends call me Fig, and for the moment, I guess you're my friends. We'll see whether you changed my mind. And she gives kind of a side eye to Bardol,
who is currently sitting very quietly, kind of to himself, just sulking.
Hiya, nice to meet you. I'm Bennie. That was quite a trick with that goblin. What happened there?
Oh, card tricks. I don't do them very often because they tend to have memorable results. I tend to stick with simple storytelling. I like to hear the stories of the people who come on by. This place is full of travelers. Like yourself, it's very obvious. I'd say you're not from around here, but nobody's really from around here, are they? So yeah, the cards, they only come out on special occasions. Most of the time, I'm just telling stories and hearing stories and trading information. Why are all of you here at the end of the world?
Oof. That's a long story, isn't it? Anyone want to have a go at summarising?
Bennie, trading information may be of value to us.
Yeah? What we got, Tock? What we got to trade?
We have gold, fungible items, gems.
There you go. We got gold, fungible items, and gems, apparently.
Fungible, like you have cheese?
I don't know. He uses very long words, and I don't know what they all mean.
Well, now you've got my curiosity. I'm not necessarily looking for gold, although I'm not going to say no, depending on what kind of information you'd like. If your story is long, and she kind of pushes the wine bottle a little more towards the center of the table, kind of like a peace offering for everybody, and swirls her glass and says, I've got a little bit of time. I've been here a while. I'm going to be here a long time, probably. At least as long as there's still interesting people coming and going. What are you interested in?
We are interested in the Citadel, the Rojan, the fate of Roanoke.
Treasure hunters? She kind of eyes all of you.
We would find treasure to be acceptable.
You looking for any specific treasure? The Citadel is a big place, and depending on where you go, not many people come back with stories. Not many people come back at all.
Well, I think at this point, we're all looking for a bunch of different things, aren't we? Main thing I'm looking for right now is some sort of spell to... What's the best word for it? Destatuify someone?
A greater restoration spell.
What he said.
Oh, friend of yours get into a little bit of trouble with something at the Citadel? Turned to stone?
Yeah, I don't think this was at Citadel. I think this was aggravating god of magic.
On the plane of Concordia.
Planar travel. That's not something that is as normal around here as you would think. Plenty of people come here looking to plumb those depths, but from a different plane. I can't say I know anybody who's got the kind of healing you're looking for, but certainly the stuff in the Citadel is, if you're willing to risk it, might have something for you. I've heard rumors. Like I said, you go too low, you don't come back, but the stuff that's going on down low seems to be very, very powerful.
Fig, if I may call you Fig, do you know anything of the library? We have heard that the magic and the danger here centers in the library.
Fig doesn't hide it, but she does glance real quick at the weapon that Bardol had, considering the interaction she just saw. and looks back and says, library? Yeah, I've heard a couple of rumors about that. It's in the basement, I think. It's a pretty big prize. A lot of the people are here looking to go after that specific thing. That's a lot of people don't come back happy after going after that one.
Do you know what they're seeking in the library?
Well, and she leans forward a little bit and says, you all seem pretty well armored, and while you look a little beat up, seem to be able to hold your own, even against a really nice punch from a minotaur. Maybe you've got an opportunity to go after the hammer. A big one there. I heard it's ancient. Although everything in the Citadel is considered ancient. You don't go after new stuff, do you? But yeah, something called the Callus Justicar. Big hammer. It's the grand prize that... And she looks out into the crowd of people and kind of idly points at a bunch. You're not the only one looking for that hammer, I can tell you that. No one's found it yet, though. Out of curiosity, why are you looking for it? What does it do? Everybody wants it, but besides hammering nails, what does it do?
To be frank, this is the first I've heard of this item.
Oh.
My curiosity centres on what happened here at the Citadel, and the rumour has it that the library may be the centre of whatever disturbance continues to cause the damage we see around us and keep people from resettling this land. Do you know anything of magic leaking from the library or some other power there?
The magic is likely leaking from the interplanar tear.
Oh.
Augustus looks at Tock as though he has no idea what that means.
Interesting. You're not the first who's talked about that, actually.
And who mentioned this before?
Well, like I said, been here a little while. My profession is entertainment. I am a storyteller, and there's only so many times you can tell the same stories, even to the new crowd, and so it's important to get new stories, find out new information from people, freshen up the repertoire. A lot of people have stories that are really not, let's say, stage-worthy, so that's information that I then trade for other stories, better stories, or more information. And in the couple weeks that I've been here, there's definitely been other people who have talked about not a planar tear, but a tear of some sort at the bottom of the library. No one's seen it. No one's knows anything about it, really. It's all kind of hearsay and rumor, which would usually be excellent for stories, but there's no details to really grab onto. And the magic I was talking about earlier, that's where people think it's coming from. The really bad stuff. Something is coming out of that basement. It's causing all sorts of problems.
Vander has finally arrived back at the table.
Bennie has finished his drink.
An inspired performance.
Again, he claps his hands together.
A pleasure to meet you. Apologies, I didn't catch your name.
Oh, another friend of yours. I'm so sorry if I stole your seat. Figlarny jumps up on top of the chair so that she is at least somewhat of height of any of you and gives an extravagant bow and says, Figlarny, the Fig, to the friends who haven't yet caused me to not have them be friends anymore. I'm so sorry if I've taken your seat. And she'll jump out and take her glass of wine, but very intentionally leave the bottle. Walk on over to another table, find a stool that hopefully doesn't have anybody on it. Or if it's got somebody on it, she'll very quickly be like, no, mine. Yeah, I'll tell your story later. It's fine. And drag it on over to sit down.
Vander slumps into the chair that's now been left to him.
Well, indeed a pleasure to meet you, Fig. My name is Vander Finnick.
Imperceptibly, his hand shuffles the wine bottle towards Tock, and Tock, you receive a mental message, check for poison.
Well, Fig, if I may say, I was most intrigued by the finale of your performance. Never have I seen heckling dealt with in such a spirited fashion, if I may say. What, pray, were those tools you used for the task?
Sometimes I think I go too far with those cards, to be honest. Mostly because they overshadow my entire performance. Nobody ever remembers the things that I said, the wonderful stories that I told, any of that. They remember the cards, but that's okay. It's a little gift I picked up a while ago. Something fun, something dangerous, as most fun things are.
I have been known to have a weakness for things fun and dangerous, so I'm most intrigued by your cards. But of course, I'm also intrigued to hear your story, Fig. I don't suppose you could tell us a little of yourself, how you came to be, say, at the end of the world.
While you do this, you just hear Bardol slowly look up to himself and go, I used to be fun and dangerous. And then he looks back down to himself and just ignores everyone else.
I'd be a poor storyteller if all the stories I told were about me. There's only so much ego that an actual stage performer can have before it's just very off-putting. But I appreciate the opening. I was telling your friends here, I'm here to trade stories, information, knowledge. There is only so many times I can tell the same story again and again, and certainly my story is only interesting to me.
How intriguing, Fig, and I assure you, you aren't the only person in this place who enjoys a good tale. But I agree with you, let us dispense with the performance. I noticed your colleague gestured for you to come over, and I would be delighted to satisfy your need for information. But one question first, if I may. Here at the end of the world, I assume, as it were, all bets are off. No allegiances exist here, I trust?
Not that I know of, but we do tend to try to have some semblance of decorum. It can't be all complete chaos.
Of course, so a few rules exist, but then let me do you the favor of telling you who we are. We all, in our way, hate the Empire and seek its destruction, and that is what brought our party together. I hope this little morsel of information will stand us in your good graces.
And you receive a truly grotesque smile from Vander.
Fig does not in the least look upset or disturbed by the grotesqueness. She's actually kind of lit up a little bit at the idea that you are here on some sort of big quest against the Empire. And she leans in a little bit and says, "What did the Empire do to you?"
A fair question.
And Vander removes the mask on the side of his face, and you're treated to desiccated flesh, scarring, fractured bones, and wounds that will clearly never heal. Vander replaces the mask.
I do have a few scores to settle.
He nods back at you.
I appreciate a story that's easy to tell. They say an image is worth 1,000 words, and you just gave me an entire novel, so I think I owe you at least a few words of my own. I don't know much about the Empire. I don't know much about specific things I can help you with that, but your friends were very curious about some of the more powerful things in the Citadel, which of course most of the riffraff here are.
Well, I hope we've distinguished ourselves from the riffraff. I'm sure you would tell us if you had useful information.
You'll distinguish yourself from the riffraff if you manage to come back from the Citadel alive. You'll distinguish yourself even more if you go down to the bottom and find out what's going on in the basement with the... And she looks back over at Tock one more time and then back to all of you. The planar tear, as it were. Nobody comes back from that. They just all talk about it being terrible.
Incorrect. We met 5 individuals who have come back from the planar tear. Automatons older. Tock will go on to list other.
Really? Now that is information worth parlaying for. Did they say anything about what was down there?
Tock will have a quick aside with Vander that probably everyone will hear saying, "Vander, what is a parlay?"
Ah, yes, Tock. Tough to explain. Allow me to interject. A side question, though. Is the wine poisoned?
Indeterminate, Vander. I do not possess the ability to detect poison.
How useful.
And Vander pours himself a glass.
Do I overhear that part of it? Is the wine poisoned?
Tock literally can't speak in anything but a loud voice, so you overheard the entire conversation.
Fig is going to reach over after Vander has poured some wine and take the bottle and grin right at Tock and say, I like you. You're very interesting. You've got a lot of information. You're also very loud. I like that a lot. And she will top up her cup with the wine bottle and then put it back into the center of the table. And then she is actually going to take a moment, and because she has telepathy, and so she's going to, you watch as her eyes just kind of flick on over to Oxor, and it's a one-way telepathy. She can send something to him but not get anything back. And she's going to say, if this is poisoned, you better bring me several more bottles that are not.
You hear a snorting laugh coming from the bar.
Vander, I could retrieve my alchemist equipment to detect further.
Of course, Tock. A useful suggestion as ever.
Bennie, having drunk his beer, Vander's beer, and Bardol's beer, is now starting to get heavily intoxicated. So he's just like, so I'll double check, and just grabs the bottle and takes a sip.
The best way to check if something's poisoned is to give it a try. I can tell you this wine is not good enough to be poisoned.
Bella, who has kind of been sat back in the shadows this whole time, just taking it in and listening, kind of leans forward a little bit and looks at Fig with curiosity. I couldn't help but notice you avoided the question about yourself. It was a fantastic speech, but I'm still curious. Where are you from? We're giving you lots of information. Now just feel more comfortable knowing a bit more about yourself. And as Bella says this, I would like to cast Detect Thoughts just at a surface level.
Nice.
Yeah, I got no defense against that.
Okay, so just surface level for now then.
Yeah, so as you ask that, the surface level you get is something to the extent of, oh, they're not going to want to know anything about the Feywild. I'm not going to be able to get any information from them from that. Ugh. Why? Why does everybody want to know about that? And then out loud, she's going to say, my background is boring, to be blunt. I'm not from around here. I don't know if I've got anything of interest to trade with you for information, except for, like I said, some of the other rumors that I know around here. But let's just say I'm from very, very far away.
And like I said, it's less about trading and it's more about trust.
I mean, I've already told you that the wine isn't poisoned. I don't know. How much more trust do you need?
It's not.
Tell me more about the Feywild. Why did you leave?
Fig will finish the sip that she's making. And she's very well schooled. She's very good at basically staying very neutral. Her performance comes into play a lot. But the pause at the end of it, as you mentioned, the Feywild, does stand out. She looks up at you and says, are you from there as well?
I'm from nowhere. But I'm asking about you.
You compliment me by saying that I talked around the question the last time, but you do the same. And she kind of peers at you a little closer, and I'm also going to cast Detect Thoughts. And once again, surface level thoughts, and out loud what Fig is going to say is, from nowhere? The Feywild isn't nowhere. Nowhere sounds much more interesting than someplace I haven't been in a long time. And what does she get?
The surface thoughts that you get are kind of visions of different places, of deserts and of snowstorms and of mountains and villages and a million different places. And you get the sense that Bella has always traveled. There's nowhere that she would say she's from.
As that happens, you watch as the smile that was a little mischievous actually gets a little more genuine and a little more curious. And she says, well, if we're going to trade stories about our backgrounds, now you know I'm from the Feywild. It's been a very long time since I've been there, though. Have you been? Have any of you been?
Me and Tock went to Concordia. I met a big giant rabbit called Sebastian.
Yes, I enjoyed the fairy tale world myself. It was strange but interesting, I guess.
You were lucky then. Listen, I love where I came from, and I wish to go back once it is at all possible, but certainly, as you've seen from the cards that I have, sometimes the mischievous is fun. Sometimes the mischievous is not. So if you made it out of that realm with stories about a bunny and nothing else, count yourself lucky.
Vander smiles at the to and fro going on, seeing, obviously because he's attuned to such things, that the game has elevated. And Vander too casts Detect Thoughts. Put on the barman!
I feel like we're the Spider-Man meme at this point, except with the tech thoughts.
Yeah.
So, and Bennie mutters, there were a big frog as well.
So you've cast Detect Thoughts on Oxnor, the Minotaur barman.
I have.
Is he thinking that guy had a really soft face and I want to punch it again?
I hope I didn't hurt him. He's actually quite funny. I do so deplore violence. But I'm the barman at the tavern at the end of the world. I can't be seen to be weak. Oh, I'm not even sure if there's a way I can make it up to him now. Oh dear.
So all this talk about being from nowhere and all the general sadness in the room is making Augustus feel like he's had loads to drink and it's the end of the night, but he hasn't had a drink, so he just wanders off to the bar to get some strong liquor.
And Vander's going to go with him.
Might cheer up the barman while I'm there.
I kind of see that as kind of hitching a ride on someone that can move faster than me. So I'm hoping I'm getting some kind of speed advantage for that.
Fig will look back at Bella and say, well, what would you like to know about the Feywild? It is big.
I'm less interested in the Feywild itself than I am in you. Again, I will say, it is about trust. And I will ask the same question again. Why did you leave? What brings you here? Of all places.
Those are two different answers. Why did I leave? Because I had to. Why am I here? For the same reason anyone is. Travel, interest, stories. If I can't do what I do at home, I might as well do it abroad. I didn't want to leave, but as long as I had to, I figured the best way to go about my continued existence was continue to do what I love the most. The stories I hear here are more straightforward, slightly more point A to point B to point C. I guess that's easier to tell, but it keeps me entertained.
And is that where you plan to stay? Or is your goal to return?
I don't have that kind of goal. She glances at all of you again, and you can see she's kind of taking in a little bit more weapons, armor, spell components, anything that's obviously showing you to be people who can defend themselves. I'm just me. I don't go places that I know I can't get out of, with my life at least. And unless I can fix the problem, then there's no reason to dwell on it. And so I am here, enjoying the end of the world, as it were. Hopefully it's not the end of everything.
Bella nods satisfied and kind of sits back into the shadows again.
Augustus and Vander, you head towards the bar where Oxnard is stood, looking slightly distracted.
Yes. How can I help?
What's your strongest liquor, barman?
We have dwarven brandy.
3 shots of dwarven brandy, please. And then Augustus turns to Vander and says, what do you want?
Oh, the same, Augustus. Why, thank you.
Okay, rack 'em up, barkeep.
That'll be 15 gold.
On the subject of payment, firstly, let me applaud you on the enormity of your muscles.
Thank you.
I couldn't help but notice you informing my friend earlier of his faux pas.
Yes. Well, lessons must be learned.
Augustus takes half a step away from Vander, on Vander calling Bardol Schultz friend.
It must be truly difficult for a barman such as yourself to be forced to act in such a way, must it not?
He leans in slightly.
Yes, it actually is. That's an astute point.
Vander genuflects.
I would be happy to pour oil on troubled waters and make things right with my associate, if that would please you.
His eyes flick to Bardol and then back to you.
If you do it carefully, that would be most appreciated.
I know my associate well, and these things are best done over fire brandy. The only tools I'll require is this round free of charge.
Give me a persuasion check. You can have an advantage, I think, for attuning to his surface level thoughts in just a truly horrible way, really. Abusing it to save yourself. It's not like you're not rich as well.
I'm gonna take a 17 on my minor gain.
That seems a fair price.
And he slides 6 shots of dwarven fire brandy over to you.
My thanks to you.
And at this point, Vander wants to quickly survey the bar just to see if there are anyone else of interest in the vicinity.
Absolutely. Give me a perception check.
I will get a 26. So a natural 20. So everything, give it all to me.
The tavern at the end of the world is obviously filled with loads and loads of really interesting people, of which your party and Fig are counted within that number. But for you specifically, there is a mustachioed man in tan leathers with a well-used leather duster coat, and he is very much the centre of attention at his table. And you can see that he's regaling them with stories and his hands are moving. He's obviously very happy with himself because when he smiles, he's got this huge, big, white, pearly grin. You know, he looks like he could, in modern parlance, he could be a movie actor. He's kind of that good looking.
Vander's eye lingers on him, and under his breath he says,
Fascinating.
He picks up 2 shots, handing one to Augustus.
Augustus, I have a plan of sorts to share with you, but first maybe a drink.
Very well, Vander. And Augustus knocks a shot back.
Vander does likewise, and then leaning closer to Augustus.
Do you see the gentleman with the fabulous moustache sat 20 feet off to your left?
Augustus, first of all, absent-mindedly touches his own fabulous moustache. And then says, I see him, Vander. What are you planning?
I'll come right to the point, Augustus. Since becoming a shark, I realize I've been living a half-life of sorts. What I lack more than anything else is a set of fine teeth.
Augustus freezes, and without turning his head, his eyes slowly wander over to look at Vander, so he's too scared to look directly at him.
As you turn back to Vander, he simply says, Yes, as if to confirm the worst you might be thinking.
Vander, you surely cannot be intending to part that gentleman from his teeth.
There are only so many sets of teeth in this world, Augustus, and not enough to go round, as my existence to this point has demonstrated. But the plan goes further. I note that Fig doesn't trade in information, but rather in stories. I wonder if we could make a story of our own this night. Maybe a tale for Fig to tell, for which she might remunerate us.
A story about removing someone's teeth?
I want those teeth, Augustus. And I would like to be in Fig's good graces. So, it seems to me a perfectly logical plan if we can communicate it with our party.
Vander, could I persuade you to take a different course?
You can certainly try. Let's go and inform the party.
And Vander picks up the other shots.
Augustus trails behind him, looking deeply troubled.
Vander's looking himself again. Tonight is improving. Vander slumps back down into his chair and passes out the remaining shots. One for Bardol, of course.
Bardol, the barkeep, sends his apologies and hopes this will suffice.
And a whiskey is slid in your direction.
Bardol raises his head slowly from his very quiet moment that he's been having to himself the last couple of minutes and looks at Vander taking the shot and looks from the side of his eye over at the Minotaur behind the bar, just downs the shot and makes his way over to the bar. So we're not the normal Bardol walk swagger to the bar, but he does look a little bit mildly diminished. Oxnall.
Hello.
I know that I'm not the easiest person. I've been separated from my turtle and my squire lately, and I've been feeling less of myself. I must confess, without the companionship of my wonderful Rosie, I am tended to follow my baser instincts when I feel I'm being wrong. In this instance, that unfortunately was aimed in your direction. For that, I wholeheartedly apologize. I am a traveler to these parts, and I acted before I thought, and I sincerely apologize, and I appreciate the sentiment that was brought over with the drink with my associate.
You can see that the body language of Oxnall kind of relaxes very slightly. And he leans forward and draws another shot and slides it across.
Apology accepted. Now, tell me about this Rosie.
She's quite the wonder, you know. Certain things came to light before my departure from my beautiful skyship. She's much more than would meet the eye. Quite the powerful creature. And beautiful, quite beautiful.
And you said she was a turtle.
Yes. You don't see many about, which is what first drew my attention. Funnily enough, I met her when I first encountered these fine fellows that I am currently adventuring with. They think I am a buffoon, but I pay more attention than they think.
I loved a turtle once myself.
And then he goes into this long explanation about the love of his life being a turtle.
Ah, Fig, you are such a wonderful teller of stories. I am truly dismayed to have only caught the last part of your tale when entering this pub.
Ah, that's very sweet of you to say. Stick around long enough and maybe you'll hear me tell it again.
I would be delighted, though of course I do hear other stories being told here tonight also.
Vander blinks at Augustus and then looks over at the table with the moustached gentleman who is also, I believe, telling a story.
Take this gentleman, for example. Telling a spirited tale, it looks.
And Vander gestures at that table.
Oh.
And the table laughs uproariously at the latest tale being told.
I'm certainly not the first teller of tales to come through here. I won't be the last.
Of course, I would be thrilled to hear his story also, as it seems so entertaining. Perhaps we should go closer and see for ourselves what wonders he is discussing.
Well, I was enjoying talking to all of you and your companions, but if you are looking to increase the size of your party... And Fig will grab her glass of wine and hop off the stool and say, I can't make introductions. I don't know them very well, but I'm very good at getting to know people. She kind of gives you a slightly longer look and then is going to start to walk in that direction of the mustachioed man.
Vander returns the look for exactly the same amount of time and begins hobbling in the direction of the new table.
Augustus follows with his eyes wide for anyone who can... no one needs to roll perception to see that Augustus is worried about what's happening.
Bardol's still over at the bar, laughing, roaring about our common love of shell maintenance. And we're on about our fourth or fifth shot at this point.
Give me a Constitution saving throw, just so that we all know where we're at.
Another natural one for a 7. Bardol's roaring.
You are, you're well on your way. Well, not quite as drunk as Bennie, but, not far off.
Too much too fast has made Bennie just a bit morose now. It's not great to see.
Bennie, would you care for smelling salts?
No, Tock. Leave me alone with your smelling salts.
I would find that to be acceptable.
Yeah, me too.
I believe Bardol may be in need of them.
Yes, I think you might be right. Go on, actually, don't ask him. You don't need to ask him. Just give him some smelling salts. He'll appreciate it.
Thank you, Bennie.
No, you're welcome.
Tock will get up and approach Bardol.
Fig, Vander, followed by Augustus. You approach the table, and another story has clearly been told as there is a huge kind of round of laughter, and the mustachioed man reaches onto the table and pulls up a fedora, which he slips onto his head. Can you believe they stole my life story and turned it into a crappy series of books? My God, I may have changed my name. I knew my own spirit. I'd recognize myself a mile away. I mean, for God's sake, no one forgets when they meet Colorado Johnson for the first time.
I hope you were able to get at least some of the residuals.
Oh, a kobold. It's strange seeing one of your kind not on the end of my sword.
Vander is tugging at Augustus's sleeve at this point.
He's just like Idaho James.
Starstruck.
If Figlarny is disturbed by the idea of him talking about being skewered by his sword, she doesn't show it, but does give the extravagant bow and says, "Oh, well, you know, sometimes it's better to tell the stories than to be part of the stories. Figlarny, at your service. We saw that you were regaling everybody with amazing stories, and I am always looking to hear about some of the fantastic things that people have been up to, sharing information and all."
Well, I've got a fantastic story for you, Figlarny, whatever your name was. There was this one time, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in a volcano, and I was making sweet, passionate love to this Asimar. Awful woman. Hated her. Anyway, we finished. I said my goodbye, and before you know it, the thing starts to bloody well explode. The volcano, not me. So, I left her behind, ran for my life, got out of there. Giant boulder started chasing me at one point. I managed to duck out of that way. Door started to close. It was an ancient temple. I mentioned that, didn't I?
Vander again turns to Augustus.
It's going to be a real shame taking these teeth from someone who so clearly deserves to keep them, but let's stick with the plan.
Augustus's face, if you were to look up in a dictionary the word resignation, you would see a picture of Augustus's current expression.
Is there any chance that I've heard Vander say that about taking his teeth?
Give me a perception check.
Sure.
I mean, if you did overhear that from someone at a pub, you probably would like double take a little bit. Where you're like, did I really just hear them say they're going to take their teeth?
You would be surprised at the weird things that are said here at the end of the world. 16.
You did not hear.
I'm too busy looking at the fedora and the mustache, and Fig doesn't care whether this story is true or not. That's not the point. The point is it interesting? And as he finishes, she cocks her head a little bit and says, "What were you doing in the volcano in the first place?"
Wow, I'm glad you asked that question. And he grabs his satchel and puts it on the table. I was looking for this. And he pulls out a kind of jade statuette, which is very obviously gnomish, like a gnomish character, but all of the features have been made larger and almost cartoonish. And he slams it onto the table. There it is. That is worth a fortune to anyone who knows what they're talking about.
Vander's now just tugging at Augustus's robes, not saying anything.
And so now you're trying to find someone who knows what they're talking about.
Obviously. Got to be able to sell the goods that I find.
Absolutely. And sometimes finding the people who are willing to spend whatever it takes to get it. I don't know if you've already got a line on somebody for that, do you?
Not yet, no. Why? You know someone?
People come, people go. I've been here a while. I've heard a lot of stories. I've traveled a bit myself. I might be able to offer a few pointers.
How much for?
How many more stories do you have to tell that maybe involve a little bit more narration and a little bit less explosions?
They turned my adventures into a series of 26 books, so you can say I have plenty up my sleeve.
These wouldn't be the adventures of the famous Idaho James, would they?
Vander says, stepping forward.
And he looks at you and goes, good gods, what's happened to you? And no, they're the adventures of the famous Colorado Johnson. Idaho James is a pale imitation of me.
Ah, I see. Those books,
Says Vander, his tone indeterminate at this point.
I see my appearance offends you, sir. I apologize. I am just a broken man. Please forgive my rather lugubrious appearance.
It is disgusting. And frankly, people who look like you should lock yourselves away. Do everyone else the favor.
And people that talk like you should think about the things that come out of their mouths, especially in a place like this.
Give me a persuasion check.
It's more of a persuasion. It's more of a, hey, we don't do that kind of shit here. But her heart's not in it because that's only an 11.
The curse of the bad rolls.
Vander jumps back in then.
I've been told by some that my appearance is a little disconcerting, yes. I do again apologize if it offends you, sir. I can see that you, of course, take great care over yours. A fine fedora, I see, and an even more magnificent moustache.
Obviously. And his eyes are then drawn to the tall, mustachioed gentleman behind you. And he looks, Augustus, at your moustache. Oh dear. Perhaps when you grow up, you can grow a man-sized one, eh?
Augustus looks pityingly at the guy and thinks that he's going to probably miss his teeth quite soon.
Can I get a read of... So first off, Figlarny hasn't made any move about it, but she's definitely impressed with the way that Vander has just completely disarmed any of these insults. But also, she's getting a read on the rest of the table. Are these actual companions of his? Or are they lackeys, cronies, or people who've just been drawn to listen to his stories and would leave at the slightest indication?
Give me an insight check.
All right.
And also the detect thoughts is for some reason picking up images of teeth all the time. No explanation.
Molars, incisors, it's all happening.
Yeah, that's only a 12.
12's enough. These are not subtle people. These are just lackeys who have obviously identified an alpha and are just laughing along. But even just a surface glance at them, you can tell that, you know, their heart's not really in it. They're just there because he's loud and confident.
They're riding his wake. Okay, that's good to know.
Of course, people such as myself are at best side characters in the truly captivating stories people such as yourself tell. But my new friend, Fig here, is an entirely different matter. I assume you have some heroic tales that will involve her and her kind. Perhaps you could regale us with one of those stories.
Kobolds? Well, I've got dozens of stories. I'm known as the Kobold Slayer where I'm from. I have slain many I would go as far to say I've slain more kobolds than anyone else on the face of the planet right now. No offense, obviously.
Vander looks like his work is done, and he turns solemnly to Fig with a look that says game, set, match.
At that, Fig, her grin, for those that can see it and maybe roll a high enough insight, gets just slightly predatory. And she's going to say, stories of killing and death, those are boring. Stories of actual adventure. Stories of the dragons that you must fight after you get past the kobolds. Those are the ones that lead to more of the treasures like what you have. And if he'll allow it, she will launch into a short story, but a very... she'll create the light show and she'll start to tell a story about a group of kobolds who were indentured to a red dragon for generations and generations and generations. And then finally the kobolds had enough and in mass attacked the dragon because he was eating them and treating them like crap. And they managed to slay this dragon. And literally hours later, a whole bunch of adventurers came by who had been making their way through the lair, discovered what had happened, and were like, okay, I guess we're helping the kobolds now. And the story is following this one specific kobold who helped lead the rebellion. And then as these adventurers show up, they become friends with one who has some martial arts abilities and decides to follow them out and become their apprentice and learn how to fight themselves and go off and become a great adventurer of their own and travel the plains and And she's finishing up, and she says, "And now I hear that you can even go to some of the different planes of existence where she's performing grand deeds for the gods themselves. And I need Mustachio Guy." Yeah, and 3 of his lackeys to make wisdom saving throws. DC 15, as she has just given an enthralling performance.
Amazing.
Okay, one of the lackeys rolled a natural 20.
It's okay.
There is also a 4 and a 6 for the other 2 lackeys, and it is a 7 for Mustachioed Man.
Excellent. The one that succeeded, there's nothing that really happens. The 3 that failed are charmed by me for the next hour. And so it's until they take any damage, I attack it, or it sees me or attack or damage its allies, which I don't know if this person even has any real allies. And she'll finish and give a little bit of a bow as she's captivated these couple of people and say, "Now there's a story that you can tell that's a little more interesting than just wanton slaughter."
Vander cuts in.
A magnificent tale, if I may say so myself, that quite rightly places Colboats at the very top of the adventurous doings of this world, wouldn't you say, friend?
It was truly a magnificent story. I find myself overcome with emotions.
Negative emotions?
Says Vander, quizzically.
No, it was a tale of true heroism. I don't know what to do with that.
You learn, you grow. You go and make your own tales in their style, as it were.
And he looks at the rest of the table. I'm not alone in this, am I? And 2 of the people seem equally as enamored, and the remaining ones kind of seem completely disinterested now, and actually a couple get up and leave, just like this guy's gone completely off the boil within seconds.
Vander's obviously not witnessed the magic that's gone on there. So now he's looking like someone who had the thread and found the thread has been invisibly cut and is trying to reorientate himself to the new situation. He thought he was on the edge of greatness, and now here he is, cheated of teeth.
Well, as those people that got bored left and open up a couple of chairs, she'll motion to Augustus and Vander to take a seat, and she'll join them all at the table and say, "So, you were interested in finding out where to sell your little bauble, were you?"
Yes, that's right.
Well, these friends of mine are also interested in finding out information. I am nothing if not someone who likes to make connections. Maybe the 3 of you can trade information, and if not, I can fill in the details. For a little fee, of course.
Of course. And he puts a rather heavy coin purse on the table. Bennie and Bella, you are alone at the table. Bennie, you're smashed.
Bella hasn't really picked up on the fact that Bennie is drunk, so she's going to kind of like slide over a few seats to sit next to him and just be looking over at what's happening over on the other table and just say very quietly, "Are you watching this happen? What is going on?"
Bennie looks sort of vaguely unfocused and goes, "I think Vander's just being weird again."
Is Vander usually weird?
Have you not noticed? Vander's always weird.
Kind of been a bit distracted by everything going.
Weird. He's weird. They're all weird.
Am I starting to notice now that Bennie's acting weird as well?
100%. Like, he's not being subtle about his incredible levels of drunkenness.
Okay, Bella's kind of going to put 2 and 2 together, realise she's going to get nowhere here, lean back again, and then go back to observing what is happening, just with particular attention on Fig and what Fig is doing.
Bennie says, "You know what else were weird? That conversation you had with Figlarny. That were weird."
Weird how?
Dunno.
You think there's still more to it?
Dunno, it felt like you had some interesting questions. What do you make of her?
I feel that she's masking something. This whole performance facade. There's something more going on there. There's something deeper. I'm no stranger to sadness, and I can sense it deep down within her. I just don't know why. It's something to do, I feel, with why she left the Feywilds. and I want to try and get it out of her.
That was a very compelling answer. However, you noticed that Bennie has fallen asleep while you were saying it.
Can I have a D20 roll, please, Dave?
4.
4? Having noticed that he's asleep, he's then sick all over himself.
Oh. Oh.
Might want to slide back round to your original seat.
Bella's going to sigh, use prestidigitation to clean it up, and then, shuffle back to her original seat and continue observing the group at the other side of the room.
Thank you. That was far more than Bennie deserved.
Bardol, you and Oxnor have been having a right old time of it when Tock approaches.
And all he hears is,
Yes, I'm no stranger to heartbreak myself. I once loved a gnomish woman that left me for a centaur. It was desperately unhappy time in my life. I never could go back to that racetrack and see it the same ever again. And then I kind of hear the clanking of steel boots behind me.
Bardol, Bennie suggests you require medical attention. And Tock has got a small open vial that he's offering towards you, under your nose. It smells intensely of ammonia salts.
Well, sadly, Tock, Bardol can't smell that because he has no sense of smell. He lost it on his first voyage from Vander in a tragic sailing accident. So he just stares blankly at you and, no thank you, Tock, I'm not thirsty, thank you, I've been knocking them back with my new best friend over here.
Best friends, yeah.
Tock looks a little bit confused for a while, puts the stopper back in, puts the bottle away, sort of looks at it for a while as if it's not maybe working. I think he'll probably return to where he came, just really awkwardly walk over to you, then turn around, walk back to Bennie and Bella at the table.
What is it you're doing here? What brings someone like you, a fine specimen of a man, to the tavern at the end of the world?
Well, sure, it's not a very original story, my love. Treasure hunting, I suppose, is the easiest way of saying it. I think you may have touched on the subject earlier when you noticed my glorious day song. I don't know if you're aware, but it is a Lucian benediction.
Now, I may have had a skinful, but I've had plenty of people claim to have Lucian benedictions. You're not trying to pull a fast one on me, are you?
It's me, big man. Would I do that? Would I do that to you?
No, of course you wouldn't.
And he kind of bangs on the bar.
No, my friend would never do that. So you've got an Alokian benediction, my gods. Where did you find it?
Oh, I found it while I was scallywagging around in some old dusty cave, you know. It was quite handy. It was almost like the gods themselves wanted me to own her. I do hear that there is a rather smashing hammer lying under the bottom of that Citadelian library. You've been treading these boards every day for years and years. You must have heard many stories about that library and every pack of no-goods that have been going for it. Any ideas?
You've been talking to Fig. Oh, good old Fig. She really is fantastic.
Isn't she?
Yeah, there's a hammer down there. It's the Justice something or other, I forget the name of it. Supposed to be powerful, allegedly. And the Alokian benediction itself. Can you imagine having two of them?
I think of nothing more, my love.
But no one has managed to get down there and come back to tell the tale. It's dangerous, filled with peril around every corner. Only true heroes could make it in and get out alive.
Well, that sounds right up my alley, old boy. And frankly, the Order of the Heron will need my help, and God damn it, I'll do everything I can to bring that hammer back so that they can fulfill whatever misguided ideas of revolution they have. Frankly, I'll be happy just to see them smash it round the face of old Emperor Salazar. But, yes, thank you for your mild insights. Let's get back to drinking, eh? Just the other question is, chap over there with that beautiful long duster coat. Happen to know his name?
Actually, I did pick up his name. His name's Colorado Johnson. I don't know if you know the books of Idaho James.
Not a big reader, old cheese.
Yeah, well, they're based on him. Apparently he's the greatest hero in all of Alestia. Some people even call him the People's Champion.
My God, they've written books about me. How magnificent.
He looks confusedly at you and then just pours another drink.
Anyway, think we should have a few more drinks. Then I'm going to toddle over there and take the coat from that mustachioed fool, I think.
Your jaw may not be as strong as you think it is, but if you think you can take him, I'll have the goblins ready to clean up after.
Fear not. So needs from you, you large, burly fool. No other man is my equal in this place. But, just knock a few more back, and see if I change my mind.
Indicated now to the two of them, hey, look, seats. Let's have a seat. Do I see that Vander may have had a line and now it's gone off? And
if anything, you'll see just a flash across Vander's face, but it's replaced by hospitality and a look of benign kindness again, almost straight away. He's lost barely a beat as far as Vander's capable of expressing those kind of emotions.
And if that isn't suspicious, I don't know what is.
Well, and considering he was the one who pointed out Colorado, is just like, oh, look at that guy over there. Like, Fig can pick up that there's something else going on. She has no idea what, but there's something else going on. So as we sit, what she says out loud is, yes, people of your persuasion, the both of you, the three of you, seem to have a lot of information that can be useful to share amongst each other. And as she glances over at Vander, in your head, telepathically, you hear Fig speak, saying, I don't know what you're looking to get out of him, but now is your chance.
You hear back in your head,
Why, thank you, Fig. A fine brokerage, and yes, indeed, I am after information, nothing more.
And out loud, Vander says,
Well, Mr. Johnson, it is a pleasure to potentially be useful to one another. Let me...
And at that point, Vander pauses as Bellerophon appears from Vander's robes. This is a chameleon that is Vander's familiar, and playfully clops onto the table.
Bellerophon, says Vander, cooing. As my party knows I am a gentle soul, beloved of all creatures, shapes and sizes, Bellerophon is a companion of mine.
And Bellerophon kind of cutely flops on the table. He's kind of trying to make a display of being a really cute, cuddly creature. He's kind of prancing about, hoping to get some kind of admiration from the group. But his prancing, by the way, is taking him ever closer to Colorado James.
Okay, I'm going to say because he's currently charmed by Figlarny and is very confused about this entire situation, he seems to have almost had a complete 180 in his personality in the last, and he has no idea why. And he just kind of looks at Bellerophon playfully toddling around, and you just see him laugh and smile.
Okay, well, Bellerophon's going to carry on getting closer, so we'll let that carry on.
Yeah, and Figlarny knows that he is charmed for the next hour by her, and so is making all of this Vander, Augustus, they're friends of mine. If you like me, you should like them. That kind of thing, so that they can talk.
And Augustus is saying almost nothing in the manner of a bodyguard, but he literally doesn't know who he's guarding. He's guarding someone. He doesn't know who.
Just people from Vander in general.
Is he protecting people from Vander, or is he protecting Vander? Maybe Bellerophon. Who knows? Maybe he's just going to start working for Fig.
The mustachioed gentleman, Mr. Colorado Johnson, reaches out a hand towards Bellerophon, like he's trying to stroke his head as he gets closer.
Bellerophon accepts that and kind of nuzzles the hand, again, kind of creeping under it just to get a little closer. That puts Bellerophon maybe 20 centimetres away.
Yeah, like right in front of him.
And thinking now quite reasonably that they are playing with each other, Bellerophon's tongue lashes out and wraps itself around one side of his moustache, giving it a playful tug.
He laughs, but he does kind of push the tongue away, and then he pulls out a very small moustache comb and just begins to straighten his moustache.
And Bellerophon is going to start just doing that all the time.
You see kind of irritation beginning to arise, but also charmed. So he's irritated, but then he's not irritated, and he's constantly just stroking his moustache with a comb.
Look, Fig, they're playing. How wonderful,
says Vander, as Bellerophon is now intensely just going for the face, licking, all kinds.
Augustus takes out his own moustache comb.
I'm feeling suddenly very left out, and Fig is going to cast Minor Illusion and suddenly have a gigantic ridiculous. Like, no, I'm not trying to compete with you. I'm trying to just have some fun. Like, 2 foot either side mustache. It's almost taller than she is, and it curls at the ends. And she pretends to stroke it because it's just an illusion. And she goes, there we go. Now we're all looking at the mustaches. And she kind of looks at Vander, and you can then hear in your head, even though she's smiling and playful, she's like, "You're just looking to mess up his mustache? Because, I mean, it's funny."
Vander's saying, "Oh, I have no control at all. Bellerophon is fast with friends."
And then I'm going to cast a mental message to Fig.
Nice teeth, aren't they?
Fig doesn't look at you. She's still smiling at Colorado. And in your head, is that what you're trying to get? I wasn't sure if it was that or the mustache.
As a human without teeth, I am limited to soup in this world. I want to experience the full joys of eating, Fig, and this rather repellent gentleman has some of the finest teeth I've seen.
And then once again, telepathically, are you looking to get him alone, or are you just going to take him out of his head right now? Either way, that's quite the story.
Well, I believe that we would indeed have lacking the deserving of our good graces. Would you not agree?
Oh, after he talked about the dozens of kobolds, he was pretty much out of my good graces. I tend to not try to start fights in the bar, but, and out loud, Fig is going to stand up and kind of dust off her gear and look at everybody that's there and say, "These are delicate negotiations. They are best done probably in private." Fig is going to stand and graciously bow at everybody and say, "All performances must come to an end. Some are for more private conversations." And so I think the 3, the 4, whoever else is going to be in your party who might have some coin to spend. And she'll look directly at Colorado, and with her mantle of majesty on, she's going to cast command. Because he is charmed by me, he automatically fails the saving throw when I command him, "Follow!" And I turn and I walk for the room.
And he follows as commanded.
Vander stands almost spellbound himself at how easy this could actually be and starts wandering behind Fig as if Christmas has come early.
As I pass by Oxor, I will do a little head nod. I'm going to go use the private room. I'm also going to give him the look that clearly says, "Close the door behind us," and then I'll go on in.
Bardol, as you're mid-conversation, Oxor kind of nods and think,
Well, if you want the coat, now's the time.
At which point Bardol kind of slowly turns and looks, seeing people going into the back room with the mustachioed man. Bardol rises and knocks back his final shot and then grasps Oxnor in a warrior's handshake.
You may not be the god of Minotaurs, but you are the greatest creature and worthy of defending the end of the world. Now, do forgive me. I have a jacket to go and make look better. And he wanders off with everybody else.
and you hear, just as you're walking away, Oxnard go,
Go get him, Bardol.
and he follows behind and shuts the door behind you. Bella, you are at the table with a gently snoring Bennie as Tock makes his way across the tavern towards you.
Tock has got some of, if there are any leftover drinks at the table, Tock is going to, from his bag of holding, retrieve some of his alchemist supplies, and he's going to be starting to pour powders and things into the empty glasses. He looks like he's investigating something.
Bella, in your head, you hear the familiar voice of Drusilla. Hello, my little ward. How's the great big adventure with the shiny new people going?
Zilla, I knew it would not be long before I heard you again. I'm quite enjoying my freedom, actually.
Freedom is a wonderful thing, but you shouldn't forget that you're not really free. Not while he is still there, giving you your powers.
I'm aware, but I've learnt a few things lately. With this group that I'm with, they're doing things for good. Why can't he let us be more like that? We have all this power, you especially. Must we use it for evil?
Good and evil are the terms of children, Bella. There is no good or evil. There is power. Now you know that the Hushed One wants power. And through us, his vessels, he will achieve that power. Do you really not want to be on his side?
I want to be on the side that makes me feel like I am doing right, righting wrongs that I have done. But I fear that you have plans that will compromise the work that the group are doing here.
I don't like to hurt anyone, as you know. But if your shiny new friends get in my way, they will have to be dealt with.
I cannot let you do that. What they're doing here is too important. Drusilla, I will return, but give me time. I will return to you before the sun rises in the morning. Just give me time.
One last night of childish fun. I can't deprive you of that. I'll see you at dawn.
Bella now stands up in her chair, feeling more defiant and feeling more motivated to make the most of her last few hours of freedom. She kind of nudges Bennie awake if she can.
I can help with that if you want.
Yeah, and motions to Tock to also pay attention and says, Bennie, Tock, they've gone to another room. I think we should follow.
Human Bella, I would agree. He looks up from what he's doing and says, I can discern no poison in these drinks, yet Bennie has been rendered unconscious. Tock will take out the vial again and hold it under Bennie's nose. My medicines appear ineffective.
I think he's very drunk. I'm not sure how much help he's going to be.
Do they appear ineffective on Bennie?
So Bennie wakes up with a start.
Correction, they appear efficacious.
Oh, Tock. We've been through this. We've been through this, Tock.
Bennie, you lost consciousness.
Oh, yeah. I've got it back now. Oh, I'm not sure I want it. Sorry, what's happening? What's happening?
Vander, Augustus, Bardol, Schultz, and Fig have left for a private room. Bella suggests we follow. I find this to be acceptable.
Right, yes. Yes. Right, lead on, Bella.
Bella starts walking over very purposefully. By the time we get there, is the door closed now or is it still open?
The door is closed and Oxnar is outside. And you can tell that he's actually quite drunk. He's a big guy and he's swaying side to side.
Friends of Bardol Schultz.
The People's Champion, yes.
Exactly, the People's Champion. Are you after the coat as well?
Query, which coat?
The magnificent duster coat. Leather, mustachioed guy. What's his name? Colorado, that's it. Are you trying to get to Bardol Schultz?
Yes.
There we are. And he slides the lock, opens the door to let you through, and then shuts the door and slides it locked again.
How crowded is this room now?
I mean, it's not a big room. We're going to have to stagger this a bit. I think we'll start with the original people who went in and then slowly bring more people in.
Augustus wants to take an opportunity to do something as soon as the opportunity arises.
Which is? What's the opportunity?
So he wants to do a very simple thing, but his motives for it are extremely complicated, and what he hopes to achieve is even more complicated.
So, and the paper is ready.
What he's going to do is, now, this guy, Colorado, is fully distracted. He's charmed. He's being followed by two different assassins. He is not looking at Augustus. Like, moustache envy is not the top of his list right now. So Augustus is invisible to him. So I'm hoping that is going to give me advantage when I punch him full in the face. My goal here is to render him unconscious and knock out a fair number of his teeth. Like, enough that Vander will be satisfied, but not so many that his own teeth are ruined forever. Because I want to basically knock him out so that his coat can be removed safely without... Because I don't want the guy to die. Like, Augustus doesn't want to be complicit in some sort of torture-based tooth removal. But the guy's attitude has earned him a smack in the face.
What a paladin.
So Augustus thinks the most just thing to do here is to knock the guy out, knock a few teeth out, give those to Vander, take the coat, off we go. Obviously, this is going to depend on a dice roll that I have to land this. I'm trying to land on an aircraft carrier with one wheel.
Okay, I'm absolutely going to give you advantage on a unarmed strike against this guy. But if you miss, there is going to be other complications, I would imagine. I just don't know what they are yet.
Well, I would think so.
I really wish Bella's speech about how we're all doing important work.
I was thinking that out loud. I couldn't feel smaller
I didn't mean this.
when you were making this epic speech about what we were up to.
This is the harm principle. This is utilitarianism. I'm doing the least harm I can possibly do here. I'm helping this guy by knocking his teeth out and knocking him unconscious.
That's how so many of us fall into the teeth trade, Al.
I don't need a speech, I need a roll.
Quite right. So that would be 17.
The moment Fig, Vander, Augustus, and the guy whose name I can't remember, and
Colorado Johnson
get into the room. He's obviously been following the commands. He turns around, and the rest of you see as Augustus just flies in out of nowhere, punching him in the face, knocking out maybe 8 teeth.
Yes!
And he kind of collapses back onto the floor. With that having happened, Bardol then walks in afterwards. Bardol, you are drunk. You've walked in, and Colorado Johnson is unconscious on the floor, and there are just teeth scattered all over the floor.
Dear God, what have I walked into? With that, Bardol Crichton walks to where Colorado James is, bends down, grabbing the scruff of the coat, whips it from the body of Colorado, unceremoniously kind of rolling him over in a horrible fashion, and then flattens it out to dust it off, and then swings it around his shoulders and through his arms. It floats down onto his person with the collar pop, and it almost hums as it lands upon his body.
As he stands resplendent, Vander is crouched around him.
Be careful, Bardol, the teeth!
As I begin scooping them up off the floor.
Augustus gives a deep, deep sigh.
Bardol, can you roll a d20 for me as well, please?
I don't want to roll dice anymore.
What did you roll?
That's a 5.
With Vander on the floor scooping up teeth, and Bardol with his new jacket on arms wide, he's just suddenly sick. It just pours down his front.
I'm terribly sorry. I'm not having my best moment. I think I need Oxnor.
At that exact moment, Tock, Bella, and Bennie all walk in just in time to see the vomit just pouring down his front.
I look at them, I kind of motion to the two groups, and I go, well, he wanted teeth. Obviously, he wanted the duster. What is it that all of you want? I did not expect this quite to happen, but I'm here for it.
We would require information.
That's going to be more difficult to get out of him now, I believe. But apparently you can get more teeth if you'd like.
Tock will look down at the unconscious figure on the floor and say, we do not wish information from that. We wish information from you.
Oh, well, I am still conscious and have all of my teeth.
That is an advantage. We wish for knowledge of a safe path to the library under the citadel to find the hammer Callus Justica. We wish for information on the location of an Asimar named Clara. We have information to trade.
You know, if only you had said that from the beginning, maybe I wouldn't have had to figure out how to steal this man of his teeth and his coat, though it was much more fun this way.
Query, why teeth?
This was never his coat. This is my coat. And he just kind of clambers over the gentleman, ignoring what everyone else is talking about. I need Oxnor. He knows how to get to the library. Starts banging on the door to be let out.
The door opens and Oxnard lets you out and then shuts it and closes it behind you.
And you just hear us kind of boisterously laughing and the clink of drinks.
Well, I'm glad they're friends again. Okay. I mean, did you want anything more from him? Figlarny's pointing at Colorado.
Vander's rearranged the loose teeth on the floor to check that he's got something resembling a set. Happy with that. I'm going to quickly read thoughts to see if I can read. Okay, I'm going for the deepest, most secret, innermost thoughts, which I assume is a constitution, wisdom saving throw for him.
Ah, okay.
If indeed
It is.
He fails the wisdom check, allowing you to probe deep into his most embarrassing thoughts.
Just while Vander's doing this, Bennie has sobered up quite significantly from the smelling salts, thanks Tock. And seeing Vander scrabbling around on the floor looking for teeth, simply turns to Bella and goes, "See? Weird. I told you. Weird."
I'm starting to see what you mean now.
This is just Tuesday.
Having successfully probed deep into Colorado Johnson's darkest thoughts, you discover a number of things. You see almost a scene play out of him as a young boy being yelled at by his father and being kind of so nervous at the aggression of his father that he basically loses control of himself and ends up wetting himself and is crying, and it's like incredibly sad. Then you see him as a young adult who has obviously internalized all of that rage and is letting it come out in the way that he treats any creature that isn't a human. He's become like a bully, effectively. He's taken on the mantle that his father gave him. You also discover, while in Lumatorn, in Cantioch, he came across an Asimar woman who he got into a flaming argument with and ended up killing. And he ended up having to flee Lumatorn because of the killing of this Asimar. And that is his deepest shame, because you should never kill an angel.
Having read these thoughts, Vander opens his hand, his unconscious hand, and places the teeth in the hand, then closes it. He then stands up and faces the group.
I have done some investigations. Firstly, I concede that while this gentleman may not be pleasant, he is not maybe the monster he might have appeared to us, and so maybe he deserves to keep those rather fine dentures, much as that doesn't suit my purposes. I can say, however, he doesn't deserve this jade stone,
Vander says, withdrawing the precious item.
That will have to come with those who can put it to a good purpose. Finally, Fig, I found out something that you might like to know.
And Vander relays the fact.
Perhaps you would consider that a fair trade, so to speak, and May will answer Tock's question to you.
At least one of them. I must say, I don't know much about many of the angels that come through here. The death of an angel is always very sad. But sometimes telling a tragedy is good. Breaks up the monotony a few times.
We have to be moved to all emotions in order to experience a good tale.
Exactly. If you laugh all the time, then you just get bored. You had other questions. You were looking for the place that he went to go talk to Oxor about. I don't know if I know more than what Oxor knows about getting into the library. I know it's in the basement. I know the basement is dangerous. I don't know if I know any more. Like I said, the basement is rumored because no one has come back from there that I know of. And she glances back at Tock and says, except for the ones that you talked about, there's some terrible things down there. That tear, whatever it is, it's allowed things to change, evolve. It's very dangerous.
Query. Do you know of any individuals who have been to the library and returned?
No, but many have gone. I always hope they return because I want to hear what is there. The most recent was, this weird, and I say weird, knowing where I am. This strange human came in a little while ago. Most come in with groups and are boisterous like... She points to the unconscious Colorado. Most are egos with groups. This one was keeping to himself. I know he ventured into the Citadel a few weeks back. What was odd is he already seemed fairly injured. He was fairly bandaged and scarred. A human named Corinth. He has not come back out, though. Anyone who's going down there who is already injured, I don't hold much hope of hearing about their exploits, but I don't like to assume.
Did he say anything of his intentions?
Well, just getting his name was hard enough. Like I said, I was only interested because he seemed to be alone, and that is, by itself, an odd thing.
Query, have you seen this individual? And Tock will hold up his tablet, on which is a picture of a human woman that the rest of the party will know as Aurora.
Fig leans in a little bit and says, yes. Also an odd one. Most who come here are going off to go do the adventuring thing. She came here in search of answers. Went out, returned a little bit later, made her way south, I think. But yes, that one was here as well. You're looking for a lot of very interesting information. Yeah, she went into the Citadel looking for answers for something, and either she found what she was looking for, or did not and gave up before it got too dangerous.
Okay, Augustus's eyes widen, but he doesn't say anything more for the moment.
You're not just here looking for the hammer.
Correct.
Should I continue to keep an eye out for these people? Are they dangerous?
Unknown.
Fair enough. I've told you apparently everything that I can about what you need to know, so here is my price. You're going to the Citadel, are you not?
That is correct.
You're going to the lowest level, I assume.
That is correct. We are traveling to the library, to the planar tear.
Here is my price for telling you this information. For one, when you are done, come back here. I want to hear the story. And I want to know where that planar tear goes.
That information is in our possession. The planar tear is connected to 5 planes. Transiting the tear will reach a random destination.
Random? Well, some of that may explain some of the creatures that I keep hearing about down there. Don't go through if you don't know where you're going. Some of those places are very obviously dangerous, but even the ones that are not, that is not a good place to visit. But I do want to hear the stories.
Well then, Fig, I believe that concludes our little visit to this private chamber. A pleasure and most useful. My thanks.
I'm always happy to help some interesting folks.
Please do call us friends.
And a gnarled hand extends to you.
She takes it without hesitation and shakes and says, I called you friend from the beginning. You can still all call me Fig, can you not?
And we certainly will. I do apologize for the rather unfortunate episode with the teeth. I will, of course, have to look elsewhere, but your help was greatly appreciated.
And you get another 3-tooth smile.
She'll look down at the unconscious form and say, I got the sense he could use a little bit of humbling, so no apologies necessary.
Indeed, and trust me, they rather slot back in, so I'm sure he'll be fine in time.
And Vander gestures as if we should shuffle out now into the main bar.
And before you do, just as everybody's about to leave, Fig, she'd been shaking your hand, and as you turn to leave, she doesn't let go just yet.
That takes almost no effort, because Vander's made of essentially paper. So.
It's enough of a hold on, I'm not done yet. And then when it's clear that you're not leaving and no one else is leaving, she lets go and she reaches back into her coat and digs around a little bit and pulls out 2 things. One looks like a rolled up piece of parchment that has a smell on it like pear trees and fire.
Okay.
And the other is a tiny coin. She's holding it out to you, Vander, but it's obvious that she's giving it to the group and says, if you do go through that tear, whether you want to or not, and you do end up in the Feywild, be careful. The place is not a good place anymore, but hopefully this will help you navigate your way around. And she's going to hand over a map to a Feywild crossing and a coin to summon the entrance.
Vander takes these gifts with some reverence, seeing them for the value that they clearly possess.
Sincerely, Fig, it was most fortuitous to have met you, and my thanks for these further gifts. Likewise, if there is anything I and my humble party can do for you in the future, please don't hesitate to ask.
And you get a sort of bow, though Vander's frame doesn't allow the full bow to happen.
Well, like I said, hopefully, if you do end up going through, that will help get you out, and then you can tell me the full tale of what you have been up to. But until then, and she kind of smooths down her coat and says, the deck and I will be here for you.
When everybody else leaves the private room, can Bella just hang back for a second? Fig, if I may, I feel that I am still curious. You have avoided divulging in your story many times, which gives me the impression that your story holds importance. I have mere hours left until I must depart from this group, and before I go, I just want to understand. I want to learn. I want to know more about the places that I may never be allowed to go. So I must just ask again. Why did you leave the Feywilds?
Fig will take a moment, glance about. I don't tell the story because it's not fun. I didn't leave, I fled. It was my home. It was a wonderful home. This place is interesting. It's fascinating. It is dull. The Feywild was full of life and color and magic and danger. And then something came. Something ruined it all. I don't know how or what or why. Corrupted everything that made the Feywild what it was, and those of us that were lucky found ways to leave. Though sometimes I wonder if the exile is worth it. I won't go back until I know the Hushed One is gone.
The Hushed One did this.
You know of this thing?
The Hushed One is the one I must return to. They are my patron. It is not something that I chose, but it is a burden I must bear. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You watch for the first time since you've seen her. Figlarny looks angry, and her voice gets very low. And despite the 3 feet of tiny little kobold, the dragon parts of her become very obvious, and she says, no one knows why. No one knows how. He destroyed everything worth being in this universe. And if he is your patron, he's going to destroy you too. And she turns and walks out.
Bella stands there alone for a moment and taking a really deep breath, a tear down her cheek. She knows, and she's kind of realizing the extent of what she's about to go back to. She knows she needs to do it. And she walks out of the room towards the group.
As you enter the main bar, the first thing you see sitting on the bar is Bardol with his feet hanging over the bar with his arm around Oxnor as they both have drinks in their hands, and they're swinging backwards and forwards singing the Bardol Schultz song.
By the time you've walked out, Figlarny has joined Bardol and seems unaffected, seems like nothing has happened, is laughing and smiling and talking to the two of them. Oh, you're going to have the worst headaches in the morning.
That is what you think, tiny dragon. You have never drunk with the people.
With a flourish, they both just fall backwards over the bar with their feet kind of in the air.
Maybe next time I'll drink with the peoples, whatever that was.
Vander is sat some distance away from the group in a chair by himself, seeming to be deep in thought.
Yeah, Bella's going to go straight over to Vander from the back of the room.
He looks up startled, as if he had his concentration broken, but on seeing you, collects himself quickly.
Ah, Bella. How are you?
Vander. Is there a seat next to Vander that Bella can sit on?
Absolutely.
Okay, she sits down. Vander, I once told you that the choice to work under Drusilla and the Hushed One is not mine. It wasn't, but over time I've come to see that maybe I do have an element of choice. And spending time with you and the Order of the Heron, who are fighting so fiercely for freedom, not just for themselves, but for others, and for all those who are subject to the oppression of the Empire. I cannot allow my own troubles to stifle the progress you've made. So I'm making the choice. I will return to Drusilla and my patron. Now. But if the time comes that our paths cross again, you can count on my alliance to your cause. And if you don't mind, I would like to leave without a fuss. I just thought I should let you know.
You plan to return to your patron this very night, Bella?
Drusilla came to me earlier, in my head, and she spoke to me. And she spoke to me on the airship too. And I believe that she plans to make things really difficult for you all, as long as I'm here. And what you're doing here, Vander, it's far too important for the likes of me to affect everything. And I've also been wondering, I had a conversation very recently, and I think there might be things that I could do from the inside, information I could gather. You know, maybe just make a small difference from the other end.
Ah, you speak now of the shades of grey that exist between light and dark, Bella. I agree with you. We all have choices. I myself sit here tonight a man cheated of teeth. Yet, in my own way, I like to think that I have done a small amount of good. And you too have a path to tread, as strange and as peculiar your decisions may be. Know, Bella, you will always have friends here, and that I hope that our paths cross again soon.
I believe they may, as I think the battle that you fight in the future may be intertwined with the battles I may fight.
I do sense a greater hand in these things than is clear at this current time. Allow me to bestow a gift on you before you go.
And with that, Vander sends a mental message to Tock, asking for a sending stone if he has one.
Vander, a sending stone. And hands it over to Vander.
Vander nods at Tock, then turns back to Bella, handing her the stone.
This will always connect you to us, should you wish to find us again.
Bella looks down at the stone, and then back up at Vander, across to Tock, over to the rest of the group, and slowly back to Vander. And she just whispers, "Thank you," and turns to walk out of the tavern.
Vander's eye follows Bella as she makes her way out of the tavern, soundlessly closing the door left unnoticed by the group, and his eye remains on the door for some time before it returns back to the group and to thinking of what's to come.
And we will end it there.
feeling the cold of the night air against her skin. Bella steps out into the night. She stands still and alone, taking in one last deep breath of freedom. She looks up to the sky and whispers, "Drusilla, I am ready to come home."
You've been listening to Dice Company's Small Embers, starring Dave Windust as Bennie Quez, Alex Morrison as Augustus Zeno, Charlie Blackadder as Vander Finnick, Scott Parker as the greatest swordsman who has ever lived, Bardol Schultz, Beth as Bella Clearvale, Lauren Urban as Figlarny, and Harry King as Tock, with Tom Patrick as your dungeon master.
The humans of Dice Company would like to thank the following sweethearts for their support: Marshall 001, Marky B, Darcy Thompson, Jenny the War Camel, Stephen Sakura, Nori Gosler, Mickey Arnold, Happy Daddy Scotty, Tika, S.J. Phionics, Richard Ungamus, Rabbi Camel, Team Vander, Paris Pakar, Path Pursuit, Julia Zeno, Shovels, Mama Strange, Queenie, Liz Beckett, Axel Runholm, and Chris from North London.
Some excellent physical comedy there.
I thought you were going to say you've got to know when to hold them. Know when to fold them.
I was really tempted. I went through a couple of variations of that. Also trying to quote Rounders a couple of times.
Be nice for once to be the person in charge of the chaos instead of being a person who has to deal with it. So, hi. You regret having me here now?
Harry does, because...
Slightly terrified.
Yeah, I was going to say, he really suffered last time with the cards, didn't you, Hazmat?
Yeah, it's not the first time either. I've lost another character to them.
Don't forget, one and all, to check out our Discord and our... I completely forgot Scott.
Faux pas!
There we go.
Sacre
In my defense, I'm old and forgetful. Scotty.
Super awkward. Hit him, Scott. Anti-DM fact.
Completely wiped my head now. I don't know what I was going to do.
I don't know what Augustus does here at all. Vander wants to be part of this plan.
Vander makes a kind of gumming motion to show what life without teeth is like. I'm trying to gain some sympathy here.
I mean...
And so you've gone to our group's paladin first to say, let's steal some teeth.
I don't choose when genius strikes.
What the hell was I supposed to do with that?
You know that scene in Guardians of the Galaxy where Rocket's like, I need that guy's leg. And it's just like, I just wanted it for fun.
We're on the way to inform, heavy brackets, warn the party about what Vander is about to do.
Kind of been a bit distracted by everything going on.
Weird. Sorry, that came out really strange. Weird. He's weird. They're all weird.
Yeah, it turns out Al has an encyclopedic knowledge of Candela Obscura.
As a professor, I did some research. So, suck it.
My God, the majesty.
Hey, why don't you go ahead and do this? But I'm definitely commanding every single time. Sorry, I'm just watching everybody look horrified.
Well, I'm wondering, can you command someone to pull their own teeth out?
Lore.
Thanks for listening. Please consider supporting Dice Company on Patreon, where for the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to a whole other show, Extra Roll, as well as an ad-free listening experience. The Dice Company Discord server, along with our socials, can be found on our Linktree in the show notes. If you enjoyed this chapter, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to recommend us to your friends. If you didn't like it, recommend us to your enemies. And we'll see you next time on Dice Company.